This is GS Programming 2, Module 5, Lecture 2 of 2, where we're going to talk about App Studio apps. I'm your instructor, Robert Hewlett. You can contact me via Gmail or Twitter. The general learning outcome is to master, know, and understand all content and concepts discussed in lab, lecture, and the assigned readings. More specific learning outcomes, although not absolute, describe the various ways to create an app in App Studio, Starter, templates, layouts, samples, enterprise. Also discuss various strategies to master new frameworks. How to start an app. There are about 5 core ways to start an app in App Studio. Currently, could be more in a new release. There is an area called Starter, another area called Templates. This is very similar to the web templates that we've used in the past. Layouts, which really gets into material design. Samples, enterprise. The first one we'll talk about is Starter. So under Starter, there are 3. There's App, one I'm very fond of, right? Very clean, great way to test UI layouts if you want to build them on your own. So if you want to get a feel for how QML works visually in terms of anchors and rectangles and all these other built-in objects that they have, then it's a great way to start, because in every line that there's not much there, so every line you add, you understand, I added that line, I understand what my intention was. There's a Hello World Qt location. I'm actually not sure about this one, in all honesty. There is a map. Sometimes, that's what I found. They don't use a map view in there, so it's a little bit of hit and miss when I'm testing it. So it has a feeling to me that a person came up with a sample, but in the end, it worked on their device or on their machine, so they didn't feel the effects of, say, some latency in the network. And so the sample got shipped out. This is me hedging and speculating, by the way. So it's just not that consistent, and it wasn't clear how the Qt location library was being used. There's Hello World runtime, right? Shows how to reference the runtime, that sort of thing. Seems to behave a little bit better than Hello World Qt location. So we'll go on to the templates. These are the ones that we used in previous labs, and these match the web templates, but you get them in the desktop version, which allows you to open them up in Qt Creator and start customizing them. So there is the map tour, which we did in lab. There is the map viewer, which we also did in lab and previous lab, and quick report. And quick report, is usually about editing. Now there's another section called layouts, and so this really focuses on like different types of application styles that you might encounter on an Android device and using material design. Now it doesn't mean that those apps won't also show up on Apple, on the iPhone, the iOS, and that, because people like Google themselves, their Gmail app, they port for Apple and make work, and it has a very, I would say, similar look on an Android device as it does on the Apple. So under layouts, there's multi-page. So this is sort of swiping through pages. Onboarding, which is, think of it like onboarding a boat or onboarding a plane. I think we've all downloaded apps, and so some, when they first fire up, have sort of like a little mini tutorial, right? That explains how to use the app and that. Side menu, a lot of Android apps have this side menu. It's a little menu icon. Some people call it the hamburger icon. So you click on it, and from the left to about 50-75% of the view, it slides out with more menu choices. There's actually the simple layout, but still material design. There's a tab layout buttons on the bottom to sort of flip through it like a tab view in that. And also 2 content areas, right? So you have side by side. And again, what you'll find is this is mainly layout stuff. You won't actually see, I can't speak for everyone, but not too many maps built in. This is solely or strictly focusing on material design layouts. Like, do you want to have a multi-page onboarding side menu, simple kind of application. There's also a tool content area as well that you can find. Now under samples, this really gets into demoing the runtime. So under samples, there's add and delete features, analyze a viewshed, and again, this is trying to showcase some of the geoprocessing that's available via the services. One is focusing strictly on ArcGIS map image layer. So there's lots of these that just test out different types of layers, right? Also just how to query the server via a REST service. Different ways to do it. You can build a JSON or use the objects. Barcode reader. So you can say, what if you like, I like the QR code reader or the barcode reader. How can I integrate that into my app as well? Maybe you need that functionality for your end users, so they have a sample for that. Basic map settings, biometric authentication, like using your fingerprint to do authentication versus a password. Also one that walks you through how to, I guess using Android speak, initiate the intent to capture a photo. Also changed sublayer visibility. So in a group layer or a sublayer, turn off and on different layers. Closest facility, again, that would be hitting one of their services. Display a grid or a graticule. Display a scene, 3D data, basic scene display. Device locations, so tying into on Android is called a location manager. It could be fine grain, coarse grain. Coarse grain is Wi-Fi. Fine grain is using a GPS receiver. But initiating that, getting a lat long, and then zoom in a map. Display the drawing status, so to give the user a nice visual of that. Hey, we're drawing something or we're editing, right? A composite symbol example where you can stack symbology, right? Edit feature attachment. So this is part of the geodatabase. Is one of the core things, that concept of having a quick photo or photos of a particular feature. It is a one-to-many relationship, so you can have many attachments for a particular feature. Also extruding graphics, feature collection layer. So this is a special type of layer that you can encounter in ArcGIS Online, where it's just basically a JSON store back in Ego. A feature layer, so they're classic hosted feature service, so an ArcGIS server feature service layer. Same thing, feature layer, but coming from a geodatabase, right? So this would be like a runtime geodatabase that's local to the device, right? Also, how to change the renderer. So the services do come with symbology, but today, I'm not sure when it happened, but definitely on a 10.6 ArcGIS server, is you can override that symbology if you need to. A feature table, how to get to the feature table. Often when you're doing queries and that type of thing, you have to drill down through the feature layer to get to the feature table to perform a query. Find a route, so directions. Find an address. So we'll talk about the enterprise apps. These are apps that ESRI has published in the app stores, both Apple and Android. So you can get these apps and customize them yourself. There's AUGeo, their augmented reality app. My Using, the player itself, so the player that we've installed on our devices to test our apps is also available for you to customize, see how it works. Survey 123, which we used earlier in the course to fill out surveys. Survey 123 Connect, as well as their tile package creator, just to demonstrate that. and trek to there. So kind of like having waypoints that you uh, go to in the field. And so I assume that over time this list will grow as they integrate more App Studio across even their own enterprise. So what you can do now is there's a couple video demos coming up, so you can pause this video lecture and watch the demos. So on the first demo is just to demonstrate the starter app, what that looks like, what you get, which is not much, but that's okay, because then you understand every line that gets added to the program. What you can do now is pause this video lecture and watch the second demo on layouts. If you need to re-examine a topic or need clarification on a term or concept, or just have a question, you can get an answer by posting a note on one of the discussion boards for this course. This concludes this lecture.